now I'm thinking about the Big Ten next year. Man, we kind of go into it with a complete unknown. Last year we knew it was Purdue and Illinois was going to be right there. Is next year Illinois' year? Brad Underwood has really he's been consistent over there. And of course, they're going to lose Terrence Shannon Jr., though, one way or another off of that team. But next year in the Big Ten, it's going to be interesting because we don't know. We don't know what teams are going to look like. We don't know what Indiana's going to look like, much less. We know what Purdue will look like. I don't know what they'll play like. But as far as roster construction, they're not going to change a whole lot. Does Matt Painter use the portal at all? That'll be curious. But Indiana is chronic. One of the things I brought up earlier, and I'm sure you will agree with this. I'm sick and tired of seeing Indiana fans just bitch and moan about every single little thing. I'm over it. I am over it. And if that's coming from me, let me tell you that because nobody bitches and complains more about things than I do. But I've reached my limit. Shut up. It's constant. It's pointless. I'm like, what are you talking about? Quit complaining about Woodson. He's the coach. So shut up. Shut up about it. They've got to go. They're going to have to go through the season, no matter what. That'll take care of itself. If he's not the guy to get it done, that's going to show itself next year. But they are. I will say he seems to have learned some lessons in his recruiting tactics because this year they are attacking it like they have not done so in their three seasons in Bloomington.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see if this isn't kind of the opening window to when you start seeing some of those fruits start to pop for those recruiting efforts. I think this is the critical time now. Once the season's officially over, you've got a window between now and finals, the end of the academic calendar, where I think things start opening up. The coaching carousel, as we saw yesterday, is still not done churning, and I think that's going to continue to turn up more available portal additions. But it's really going to be a mad dash between now and the end of this month, beginning of May, for a lot of these portal entries to find homes. And you certainly hope and would imagine that everybody's doing their due diligence. I have to remind a lot of my friends when talking about this, it's a two-way street. It's not just giving the teams and the programs the opportunity to review the film and really scour and see what fits are best. It's got to work for the kids too. They've got to find a place where they're needed, they're wanted, and the culture and the program and the style and all that fits. So part of it is it just takes time. There's a filtering process that has to take place. And not the least of that is just the physical logistics of getting kids on campus, getting some open gym run with the returning members, and really giving everybody a chance to see how that's going to line up. But I think you're going to see that start accelerating here now that the season's over and you've got this opportunity, because the school calendar still weighs heavily on this process. In addition to the NCAA mandated periods, these kids have got to make grades. They've got to stay eligible. And, that's a whole nother component is, do the credits transfer? Would they get admission? So on and so on. But those gears are all moving now in full force. And I would imagine you'll probably start seeing more announcements about additions and signings and really coming on full here over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see when that starts to pop, because there are some visits that have happened, more visits for Indiana that are expected to happen, that are coming kind of nonstop. It will continue to pop. One of the more recent ones that should be visiting Indiana. Minnesota transfer, big man Farrell Payne. And Todd Leary was on with us yesterday and talked about he hopes that Indiana doesn't land too many big guys because he does not want Mike Woodson to have the opportunity to continue to play this buddy ball type of offense, the antiquated, let's pound it inside kind of thing, because that's not what wins in college. He is going to have to adopt a method that it brings into use the three-point shot. And to do that, you have to have three-point shot makers. Mackenzie Agbako started coming into his own at the end of the season, but you've got to add pieces. And I don't want to hear about Trey Galloway, not from you, I mean, but for people. Trey Galloway, he's not that guy. I'm sorry, but he's not that guy. They're going to have to be brought in, but they're going to have them. You're going to have you still have to have a presence in the middle, but they have that. They've got Malik Renew, and they're going to have a backup for him, because I'm still not confident. I wouldn't be confident as a fan that he could stay out of foul trouble yet. But other than that, man, they need to be a team of guards and wings, and that's where the game is played. Wings that can shoot and get to the basket.
No, I think it's that mentality now that everybody on the floor has to have a bag. Yes, you're gonna have tall guys, such as the Zach Edey's, who can just dominate the post. Yes, you're gonna have guys that just absolute marksmen that can just snipe from anywhere on the floor. You're gonna have some guys that specialize in those things, but I think as you look at the way the game's evolved, you look at how championships are being won now, you have to present dynamicism, both offensively and defensively. You've got to have depth. You've got to have, experience tends to win the day when things get tight. A number of different things going into how the modern game is being played. And I think the portal provides an opportunity that you can get there really quickly if done well, if done strategically. I think I saw a stat last week: 55% of the Final Four players had previously been on other rosters. The majority of the guys in the Final Four were transfers. But look at the role that veteran leadership plays.
And not to cut you off, Con, had Purdue not been in it and been another team, I'd say that number would be 75%.
Yeah, no, unquestionably. It's where the game is now, and will probably continue to be for some time, honestly, unless they make some pretty significant changes to the way that players are allowed to transfer. But I think we're going in the opposite direction, rather than becoming more restrictive in that regard. And that's not to say that you may not see an acknowledgement of some sort of an employment status that contracts them to a minimum stay before they're eligible without immediate eligibility to transfer. But
I have been saying that for a minute. I don't understand how and why they haven't been able to come up with that yet.
Yeah, because you haven't called them employees yet, and until you do, you're not going to give them the freedom to contract as a union.
Well, what about contracting with the NIL?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a number of ways to go about it. There's a number of ways to go about it, but that's the thing. The way it's currently structured, you can't make it a pay-to-play thing, at least not under the NCAA's current model. So until they get past that and acknowledge, the athletes for what they are, you're going to continue to see these convoluted rules that never achieve the desired goal, because they can't make that one big step as far as status and classification. All that said, though, to your original point, you need to see some shooters. You got to see some guys that can score the basketball in a multitude of ways. And as UConn reminds us, you've got to have guys that are bought into whatever your defensive philosophy is, and they have to be willing to go all in on that. And I think that's been it's been something that Woodson has prioritized from the beginning. Every season, defensively, they're so much further along than they are offensively. It took a while to get there this year. It still wasn't good enough. But they continued to grow and thrive. Now find an offensive identity to go with that, and then maybe you're cooking.